Babes, if you can tell, the bedazzled mic is coming along very slowly, but it's coming along. Also, cheers, because I got my first apartment. We are not filming in my first apartment though, okay? I am actually dog sitting and house sitting for my mom and my sister because I live like 10 minutes from them now. And I'm also doing laundry because my apartment does not have a washer and dryer. It has washer and dryer hookups, but I don't particularly know if I want to buy a washer and dryer. Anyway, let's get into the video. Hey YouTube world, it's Mara and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if this is your first time watching me. I really appreciate it if you stick around. Anyway, or if you have. Love you guys. This video actually came out of a lack of inspiration, one, and two, talking with my therapist of how I need to step in my power and step in my light and stop playing small. And she recommended I read the book Daring Greatly by Brene Brown, which ironically I had already read when I was like, I want to say like 20, like 6 years ago or something like that. Anywhere from like 20 to 22. I was so obsessed with self-help back then. Mainly because I was depressed, but I feel like I don't remember anything that I read from that book. Anyway, as I'm reading it, it's like coming back to me. But anyway, literally in the first chapter, she talks about how everyone is so scared to live an ordinary life. And that struck me because that was something that I was terrified of at like 19 to 20, even to like, no, from like 19 to like 24, 25, I remember telling my friends just like, I'm so scared to like only have a desk job for the rest of my life and do that for 40 years and then retire and your life amounts to nothing. Like I verbatim remember saying those things to my friends. And honestly, it makes so much sense because social media is making us believe that it is the amount of people that we impact and not the quality of the impact. It's like, I feel like it's making us believe that if you don't have 100,000 followers on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, whatever the app is, your life has amounted to nothing and it's meaningless and go die in a hole. Like, that's literally what social media is trying to tell us. So anyway, social media is trying to slowly convince us that it's more important the amount of people that you impact versus the quality of the impact. And I am here to tell you that that is just blatantly wrong. And along that breath, I hate the fact that we have began to label lives as ordinary. Like, when you think about it, when you really think about it, we are all just conscious beings having a human fucking experience on this fucking rock in the middle of space. Like, what in the fuck is ordinary about that? Like, let's literally get ordinary out of our vocabulary when we're describing our life. When you even further dissect it, it's like, who actually has the power to label your life ordinary or boring? Yourself. Like, I'm speaking to my younger self when I say this, but sorry to break it to you, you are the only person that's defining your life as boring and ordinary and making it feel that way. Because life can feel extraordinary when you just go get a cup of coffee, when you go run in a field, when you go jump in a lake, when you go out dancing with your friends. Like, life can feel extraordinary, but it is the perspective that I had that was making me label my life as ordinary and boring. And not to harp on it too much, but I just hate the fact that, yeah, social media is making us think that we have to do everything on such a grand scale, because if not, it's meaningless. And for me, that's just not the case. I refuse to believe that. I thoroughly believe that is the quality of the impact that I'm making, and I'm only realizing that now because I don't want to not disregard. I could not think of the fucking word. I was gonna say disgrace, but I was like, that's not the word I'm looking for. I don't want to disregard the meaningful, beautiful connections that I have because I never amount to 100,000 followers on YouTube. I never want to diminish the impact that I make in And even then, I'm like, if I impact 4 people on YouTube, or I impact, I don't know, 2 people through Instagram, that is still insane. Like, you touched someone's life. But because we are always in this comparison game and this automatic loop on social media that we need to do more and be more and produce more and bigger is better, it really makes those small touching moments and connections feel insignificant. When in reality, I genuinely feel like that's the shit that keeps you going. That's the shit that touches your heart and makes you wake up and be like, yeah, this is what life is all about connecting with people. And it doesn't matter how many people I connect with. It matters the type of connection, how deeply we bonded over our traumas, or about how much we love fashion, or about how much we love crocheting and sewing. And, like, that's the type of shit that matters. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting so passionate about this. And I feel like as I'm starting to clearly decide and choose for myself how I want to define my life, I genuinely don't care too much about my career anymore. And granted, that does not mean I don't want to get a bag, okay? Let's be clear. I want to be able to very comfortably afford my bills and maybe take a vacation every now and again and buy random things that make me happy. I don't think that's too much to ask for from a job. Regardless, I feel like when I was younger, I put so much pressure on what my career was going to be. I thought I needed to have this insane, intense, amazing career that defined who I was and impacted so many people, and I was just such a productive member of society. I'm just like laughing at how delusional I was, or just how much pressure I put on myself, because the older that I get, the more I'm just like, your career can say a lot about your identity, but it doesn't have to. And that's where you take your power back. That's where I took my power back, where I was just like, your career is just such a small aspect of your identity and your personality. It does not have to say that much about you, and it does not have to be that deep. A lot of us just need a job to make money, to allow us to do the things that we really thoroughly enjoy doing and that light us up, and it makes our world go round and it makes us feel euphoric for a moment. Like, it literally does not have to be that deep. But I was so obsessed with like having a career that meant something to me, and I'm the career path I am going down does mean something to me, and I do feel like I will positively impact people in many ways. But there's also that aspect to it where I realized at some point in my life, like literally within like the last year or two, that was like, I do not have to commit to this for the rest of my life. Like, at some point, if I don't want to do this anymore, I can pivot. I can figure something else out. It is not the end all be all. And I feel like that was something that was so daunting to me and made me feel like I'm going to work an ordinary job for the rest of my life and sob, wah, call the ambulance. And now it's like, yeah, I could do this, maybe do it for 10 years. Maybe I get burnt out and I want to do something else. And it's okay to start over and to pivot and to change. And so when I tying this back to how I want to define my life, I want to define it by the way it makes me feel. I don't want to create a life that just looks good on the outside. I want to create a life that feels good to me. And being able to comfortably pay my bills is great, even if that is with an ordinary job. I feel like social media has also demonized a 9-to-5. Well, granted, there are some 9-to-5s that are fucking horrible. I'm not negating that in any way. But I also think there's this sense of freedom that comes with not having to be an entrepreneur and not wanting to be an entrepreneur, not wanting to have your own business and just wanting to work a regular job. And you clock in, you do your work, you clock out, you go home, you forget about all the work problems. There's so much freedom into that. And you just know your paycheck's going to come when it comes. And to me, there's actually kind of a lot of beauty in that, where it's just like, you're secure. Granted, as long as the company does not fail and crash and burn. But even then, you pivot, you pick yourself up and you move along. I don't know. I'm like, aside from that, maybe I'll choose monogamy. Maybe I will settle down with someone and have kids, and that will be the next adventure of my life. I don't really know. But I feel like I'm starting to find beauty and peace in that. I'm starting to find beauty and peace in that and not label it as ordinary. I feel like, especially as I get older, I'm like, raising kids is such a fucking challenge, like insanely hard, insanely difficult. I don't know if I will ever do that in my life or if that's meant for me, this journey. Who the fuck knows? But I'm also starting to realize that I was so strongly against that when I was younger because there is this underlying fear. And it was fear at failing at an ordinary life. Because if I almost like set myself up for like confirmation bias of just like, of course, if you aim high, well, it's almost like a justifiable action that you failed. Like, of course you're gonna fail, you know? Like, you aimed so high, you had these insanely massive dreams, and it's understandable that you failed, and da-da-da-da. But it's like, if I had just aimed for an ordinary life, and I failed at that, then it was like, oh, then maybe I'm not worth living. Maybe my life is really meaningless, and pointless, and I'm not supposed to be here, and, you know, all of those terrible worthless thoughts that we have about ourselves, or maybe just me. Maybe just me. Here I am grouping you guys all in with me. Maybe it was just me. But there's this underlying fear of just like, no, I have to aim big because I can't fail at having an ordinary life. Like, what? And I feel like that just pushes me to go back to the thinking of like, what even fucking is an ordinary life? There's no such thing as an ordinary life. It was just myself comparing the life that I could go, the different paths of life that I could go on, because you never fucking know where life takes you. But just comparing one very specific path of life and assuming that it was meaningless and worthless because of everything everyone else was doing on a larger, grander scale on social media. And it's like, sometimes I really do have those visions of like settling down with someone and having a family and maybe hopefully being able to buy a little farm with enough land to run around, have quads, have a pond. I don't know, okay? But then I start texting men and then I'm like, yeah, I remember why I don't want this. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Not really, but yeah, kinda. But it's like, I feel like I no longer fear having an ordinary life because there's no such thing as ordinary. One, there's no such thing as ordinary. There's no such thing as normal. And I realize I'm the one who has the power to make my life feel ordinary in the mundane or make it feel extraordinary just through small actions and my perspective on life. Like, literally today I went to go get coffee, obviously. I was just walking down with my music in and my bedazzled pink sunglasses on, and I was like, I bet you I look so fucking cool walking down the street, and I wish I could have an outer body experience to watch myself walk down the street because I know I just look awesome. And it's that kind of mentality that makes life feel fun and exciting and extraordinary in the most mundane moments. And there's so much beauty to that. Sorry, I'm a Libra. I just love all things beauty. And even though we always say that like social media is people's highlight reels, I cannot stress that enough. Social media is literally people posting their most idealistic, manufactured millisecond of a perfect moment for it to be cemented on the web forever. People are not posting the 10 years it took for them to be a pop star. People are not, maybe they are, but it's very far and few in between, and they're posting the highlight of every year of that 10-year buildup. You know, no one is actually being raw, real, and insanely vulnerable on social media, which I wish more people would do, because vulnerability is so powerful. And that's why I feel like I'm rereading Daring Greatly, aside from my therapist recommending it to me. But there's so much amazing, like, material on there that Brene Brown talks about. Like, that too. Oh my gosh. Brene Brown said a quote. I think it was the opening line for her TED Talk. I'm sorry, I don't know. I've never watched her TED Talk. But regardless, she said, "What would be worth doing even if you failed?" And that's where I feel like I'm feeling with my art. With YouTube, I feel like I have just gained this sense of, like, and in anything, not just YouTube, like art that clothes that I make, crochet, paint. I want to try pottery. I feel like I keep saying that and I haven't fucking done it, but I'm gonna do it. Like, I genuinely feel this peace and this urge to create, regardless whether it ever gets the recognition that I think it deserves. And I feel like there's so much peace and freedom in creating in that sense. There's so much peace and freedom in creating in that thought pattern of just like, I genuinely don't care anymore. I don't care. I just want to create because I love to create, and I think this is beautiful and wonderful, and I'm having fun. And if at some point this is no longer fun, you keep it pushing. You know? It's life. Yeah. The more that I think about this, the more I'm just like, this kind of just ties in with that whole notion of like romanticize your life, but it really is true. Like, you have to be the one to romanticize those moments and make life feel extraordinary for yourself, even when you feel like you're living an ordinary life. But again, there's no such thing. Life is a beautiful, magnificent, insanely crazy, intense, beautiful miracle. And whether you believe it or not, you're put on this earth for a reason. And sometimes, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm word vomiting, but whatever. Sometimes it's not for a grander purpose than we think. I feel like we place so much pressure on ourselves to do big, amazing, incredible things, and some of us will and some of us won't. But I feel like the whole purpose of us being here is to just have a human experience, whatever that looks like for you. And however you fucking define that. What the fuck is a human experience? Who knows? You get to define that for you. I'm gonna clock out. I just say that because my 2-year-old niece says that all the time when she's typing on the computer, and it's the funniest fucking thing ever, seeing a little 2-year-old frantically be like, I need to clock out. I'm like, girl, the capitalistic machine has got to you too. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna clock out. That's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got something out of this. Peace and blessings, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Mwah, bye. Forehead kisses for everyone.